Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda before us. There should be some out here in the audience for those that want them. One addition will be 10A. Say plumber's license application for Ronald Seaman. So we'll put that down as 10A. Any other additions or deletions to that agenda? If not, we will operate under that agenda. First item would be to approve the minutes of the Monday, October 6th regular city council meeting and the special council meeting on October 13th.
Move to approve the minutes as printed. Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. Next we have 5 public hearings. 3 of them, the first 3 all relate to a request to move a dwelling into a residential area. 601 Heritage Place, 602 Heritage Place, 612 Heritage Place. And we will ask that anyone that wants to speak to any public hearing, please come up to the microphone, identify yourself, give your address. It is being taped. Will be rebroadcast. When it comes to this first hearing, these first 3, we will have 1 public hearing, but we will vote on the 3 items individually. So, Kim or Ben, who's going to take the lead?
I believe Mr. Howell.
Okay, Dale is going to come forward.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the commission, of the council, pardon me. I'd like to give you an update to start with of the current status of the subdivision Heritage Place for the purpose of locating which dwellings are in what condition and the applications that are before you this evening. This, of course, is Jacqueline subdivision. This is North 7th Street and the street Heritage Place. The areas shown with the hatching are areas that currently have dwellings on them. All of these dwellings are occupied and certificates of occupancy. This dwelling is occupied and has a certificate of occupancy at 608. The last 3 dwellings were 604, 606, and 610. These are all in process of remodeling. There are dwellings on those lots. They are not completed at this time. The council had expressed the opinion that they would be done by October 1st. At this time, they are not complete or do not have a certificate of occupancy. The request for this evening is for 601, 602, and 612. You have pictures of those? I'm going to show you pictures. This is the dwelling that's proposed at 601 Heritage Place. It has been inspected and certified by my office. The next one is 602 Heritage Place. It's been inspected and certified by my office. And the last one is in Redwood Falls and is planned for 612 Heritage Place. And it has been inspected and certified by my office.
Dale,
You have questions?
or Ben, we have a memo from Ben stating that 606, that the final inspection has been approved by your office and that the certificate of occupancy is being processed.
Mr. President, may I stand corrected? 606 has been completed. I am sorry about that.
And 604, it said a final inspection was scheduled for today, and you would anticipate this final inspection going smoothly based on recent inspections? Now, I know you had a building inspector out there this morning.
I was there myself, yes, sir. It is not complete.
That one is not.
Correct.
And 610 is not. It's not scheduled for a final inspection.
I have no appointments to do that.
Thank you. Bill. Any questions from the council today? Anyone in the audience wants input into these three? Come up, identify yourself again, address for the camera.
Norm Gregerson of Greg Gregerson Management, and we've got property on North 7th Street, 411, 413, 415, so across from the entrance. We have no objection to these houses going in. As a management company, we receive calls, I would say 2 to 4 per month, from people saying, we've just taken a job in Marshall, do you have a 3-bedroom house that we could rent? We manage no 3-bedroom units. So my comment is just that there seems to be a demand out there for people coming to Marshall and for housing that may have a family already. Thank you.
Anyone else? Kim?
Yes. I'm Kim Christensen. I own KHC Construction, and I just recently purchased the one house. I believe it's the second one on the list. And my intent was to have it moved, and Ron and I came up with an agreement if he could move it and if it was fit. And kind of what it does for me is I need the house moved because I want to facilitate doing some more improvements on my property there, which may include in the next year, 2 or 3 or 4, depending on what happens with our economy. Probably an addition on my building, plus I kind of need another entrance. We're on the Schwann's main road over there on 703 Ontario, and we bring low boys in. D&G drops drop decks right in the middle of the road, and we load cranes and forklifts, and we basically tie up the road, and it would really help us quite a bit on our operation if we could get that house moved, the sooner the better. And I know Ron is, and I drive through that addition that he's got going over there, and it's kind of hard to go forward with the project until you get the roads and all the curbs and gutters and that stuff kind of completed too. So now that that's in, you know, he's probably going to be able to finish a lot of that stuff sooner too. So the thing it does for me is that I can get the house moved, I can maybe get my roads in and start my project for expansion. So that was my input. Any questions?
Any questions of Kim? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wants to be heard at the public hearing?
Hi, my name is Brenda Van Ostrand, and I rent 603 Heritage Place.
Would you talk up, please, for the camera?
My name is Brenda Van Ostrand, and I rent 603 Heritage Place.
And I'm Suzanne Crane, and I rent 605 Heritage Place.
I have a letter from a Shar that I'd like to hand you that also lives out there. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I was heard through the grapevine that somebody said that Ron's hardly ever out there working. Ron's out there all the time. He's out there on holidays. I'm always seeing him out there, and I think he's a good landlord. If he needs stuff done, he'll get it done. And also from watching, and I sent you guys all a little letter, it was also mentioned that at the council meeting that people from out there have been calling a neighbor on Susie, which is not true. Nobody out there has called her.
I'm here to agree to everything she says. I would also like to say that Ron Schilling has been the best landlord I've ever had in the 12 years I've been renting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, Ron, you better have some comments.
First of all, thank you. I didn't know they were going to come in with the endorsement. I appreciate that. The 3 houses that I'm requesting that we move are brought to you all at once.
Before you get into those, Ron.
Yes.
On those 3 that were supposed to be done by October 1st.
Okay.
Only one has got the certificate of occupancy in hand, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. 604 is not complete, as Mr. Howe says. And that's technically true, but is not complete is that as of the point that Mr. Howe was out there today, the gas meter had not been installed. And I'm given to believe from his office that that is the one remaining item. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. After he was there, the gas company did arrive. The gas meter is on the house. So I'm anticipating I'll have a certificate on that one if his schedule allows tomorrow. That would be. The 610 is not complete, and it is lacking the electrical redo. And the electrician started on Friday, told me he'd be back today. I'm sure he got sidetracked with farm grain bins or something, was not there. Judging by the amount of time that it normally takes him to do a house, when he gets back, I would expect he will be in that house 4 days, perhaps 5. And so if he does find his way back there tomorrow, that house could be electrically complete by the end of the week. The furnace contractor was started today. His equipment is there. He tells me that he's going to stay on the job until it's done. So with the electrical done, at that point what we have left to do is to install the sheetrock, the interior finish, on that rear entry room that was added on, or that had to be rebuilt. So we're 10 days away from that one, as a guess. And as soon as I say a guess, somebody's going to want to try to hold me to it, and I affirm that is a guess. It was also stated that there's a demand for these houses, and I just want you to be aware that whatever pressure comes to us from the city council or a particular city council member is insignificant in comparison to the pressure that we get from tenants and prospective tenants. And when we make a commitment to them, that's gold. That's what we rely on. We have made a commitment to tenants so that they can occupy those 2 remaining houses that do not have a certificate of occupancy. Both of those, to attest to the demand, both of those are leased for the 1st of next month. We will make that deadline. Okay. Just in case we do have other rentals around town, and we are intentionally holding one vacant so that we can fulfill our commitment to a tenant if something goes wrong and a subcontractor doesn't come through and we're caught in the middle for that reason. So we will make good with our tenant, even if it's at another location. But yes, the demand is there, and our commitment has been made to the tenants. The 3 houses, are there any other questions about the houses that are there? Okay. The 3 houses that we're proposing, they're brought to you all at one time so you can get a look at our projection for the future. When we started this year, we had 7 vacant lots. Our plan was to do 4 houses this year and to have 3 houses done in '09. At this point, this year, we have 3 houses virtually done, and we would still be on target for 1 more house this year. If we can get started on it immediately, we can get 1 more house done yet this year, meet our projection. When the house that Mr. Christensen has available came available, that really sort of is stepping into next year's projection, but we can accommodate. We can install 1 more basement yet this year. The budget isn't real happy about that, but we'll work around it. And we'll put that basement in and meet his schedule, and won't do anything with that house. So if you see it sitting with nothing happening on it until the house on 612 is completed, don't be surprised. Because 612 is the house we plan to do this year. All the commitments are made on that one. In fact, it has been prepped for moving. The mover may have, even today, been loading it. But it can't arrive here for probably at least a minimum of 2 weeks or longer before we could actually bring it into town. Because first, after we have your approval, then we have to dig the basement. Then we have to have the concrete walls poured, let them cure, backfill around them, and then we can bring the house. So that house actually is going to be moved partway to Marshall and left resting. And then the mover will have to come back another time, pick up the house again, and finish moving it to Marshall. That's why it was quite important to us that we had the approval last month, so that wasn't going to accelerate the moving date. It would have accelerated our ability to get the basement ready for it. It would have saved us the money of having the house moved twice. So that's our cost because of the delay. But that's the house that is scheduled for this fall to be completed yet in this calendar year. If the second house is sitting there on a foundation, then as soon as we can go ahead in the winter and do inside work. And then throughout January, February, in that time frame, we could get the second house ready. The third house, the one which was actually presented first on your agenda, that house, we have no intention or ability to bring that house to Marshall until at least the middle of April. It is purchased under an agreement that we take possession of it somewhere between April 15th and August 15th next year, when the replacement house for that seller is completed. And so we're just presenting that one to you this evening so that you know what the plan is, what the time frame is, and if you approve it this evening, which I would hope you would, then when the right time happens in the spring, we can simply move forward, because we will have had plenty of time to finish out the other houses that arrived ahead of it. That will leave us with just 1 vacant lot. And each of those lots, as you notice on the screen, each of the lots has a different size and shape. And as we've found houses to fit the neighborhood, each of those houses has a different size and shape and seems to match up with a lot, because we have the variety. Because we're down to just 1 left, and that is a rather shallow lot, not too much distance front to back, we're going to be looking for a very specific size and shape of house. So it may be a little more difficult to find, but I would expect that sometime in the next 6 to 8 months we will find one. And so then we'll come to you with that one. Houses get offered to us with surprising frequency. And I have to say that because of our standards and what we will accept, the expectations that we know that you have, and the limitation on size and shape and ability to move, in some cases, tall houses, we've actually had to reject more houses than we've been able to accept. So the three houses that are going to be coming in are all three-bedroom houses. One of them is currently functioning as a two-bedroom house. It was built as a three, and there was a wall removed. That's one of the things we'll do to it when it gets here, is to put that wall back in place and return it to a three-bedroom house. So they will fit the market demand. And I guess we're anxious to get started, because while the basement contractor is getting the underside, if you will, ready, we'll be finishing up the house at 6:10. So the timing will flow about the same. A couple of months ago when I was here, I suggested that if any of you had questions or concerns, that you should contact me. No one has. So I assume that there have been no concerns, but yet when I was not here at last meeting, apparently there were some. The arrangement of our labors, I also suggested at that meeting that if any of you had any requests that we do things in a different order than we had been choosing to do, if you wanted to see things happening differently in a different sequence, let us know. Nobody has had any requests. It takes about the same length of time to do three houses all together as it does to do three houses in sequence, one after the other. Certain amount of work, certain amount of time. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It's going to take somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks after the house is set in place that we will have it ready for occupancy. When we try to do three at one time, of course, all three of them end up getting ready approximately at the same time at the end. So sure, with the 4 to 6 weeks for each house, all put into one package, it takes 4 months perhaps, and that's what this has done. And I remind you that the city ordinance says that an undertaking of this nature has a 6-month window. Okay? And we're doing 3 of them and doing them in approximately 4 months. So I think we're well within the time frame that is set aside by the printed rule in the city. In previous meetings, we've sort of gotten sidetracked into a lot of different things. Sometimes we've gotten sidetracked because of input from people who wanted to bring in all sorts of issues, including where trees were planted and a variety of other things. Respectfully, I would like to just remind you that the request that we have for you tonight is specifically to move houses in. And it specifically relates to these 3 houses. And if you don't mind, I would like to just read, or in the longer paragraphs, maybe just paraphrase what the code is on that. Section 18-56 says, "No person shall have or cause to be moved any house or structure into the residential districts of the city without first obtaining a permit as provided in this division." We did that. 18-57, the application. "Any person desiring henceforth to move any house or structure into the residence district shall make application in writing for a building permit. Such permit will be filed with the city engineer." We did that. 18-58, certification by the building official. "Upon such filing, the city engineer shall submit application to the city building official. It shall be the duty of the building official to examine the house to be moved. If, after such examination, the building official is satisfied that the house or structure is or meets all the requirements of this code, then the application shall be certified." It was. Next paragraph, 18-59, is approval by the council. "After such certification, the application shall be returned to the city engineer, who shall present it to the city council at the next regular meeting. If the house or structure is not newly constructed or has been occupied or used on the site which it is located, then the council shall hold a public hearing, and the application shall be accompanied by a list of names of people within 200 feet, etc." And I'll leave that, it's a long paragraph. Getting to the end of that paragraph, after it talks about what happens at the hearing, and that we identify where it's coming from and where it's going. At such hearing, or any adjournment of the hearing, if the council finds that all of the provisions of this code are complied with, and that the moving of the house will fit into the locale to which it is being moved, the council shall approve such application, and the building permit shall be issued. Okay? And then there's a couple of other paragraphs talking about whether the house either is up to standard or can be made up to standard. But I wanted to get to the point that says there is not a statement, and again, I do this respectfully, but there is nothing in this code that says the council shall consider or the council shall do it if the house that was there ahead of it looks nice or doesn't have a shingle tab missing or was done in a certain accelerated time frame. None of that is in the code. So I'm asked to follow the rules specifically. I respectfully ask that you do the same and treat these houses on their own merits, that they are deserving of being moved in. And with that, I know you want to handle each of them separately, and I appreciate that. Just as a reminder, from our standpoint, the third one on your agenda is the one that we severely need now. Okay? So, whatever I can say, whatever I can answer to you, we need that permit now, otherwise it's going to get very late into the season. We're going to run into serious problems with digging basements. The second one, that one to meet Mr. Christensen's desires and to allow us to get an earlier start next spring, we would certainly appreciate that approval now. On the one which is actually first on your agenda, which would be the third house for us to move, if you feel that it is in the city's best interest to even table your vote on that until next spring, I thoroughly understand. It won't affect us one way or the other. Okay? But I appreciate you having held the hearing on it, and if you want to defer your decision on that one, that's fine for us. Okay? Now, do you have any questions of me?
Ron, the question I have is the one that you're referring to that you would be okay with putting on hold for 601?
That is 601.
Okay.
That is correct. Okay?
I've got a question. I guess I got a couple questions. My first question was, you were here in June and we approved those three houses that we just got moved in.
Correct.
Correct? I mean, I'm right about that, right?
We approved them in June,
Okay.
and later in June, we actually moved one in, and shortly after the 1st of July, we moved the other two in.
Okay. And the agreement that we had at that time was those houses all going to be finished before that, before these were moved in. I mean, that was part of the motion that was made. You finish the houses you have and these three move in.
Yeah.
Were all those houses finished before and everything done on them before July 1st? The ones that, before the ones you moved in?
Which
The ones that
houses?
we had in question that weren't finished yet.
Oh,
And a number of things that
last
were
year's,
all done. Were they
last
all
year's
done by
6
July
houses.
1st?
Last year's 6 houses? Is that what you're referring to? The ones?
Yeah, I'm referring to the houses that were there before these last three moved in.
Okay. What,
The agreement that was made in the motion was an agreement with you, and you were in agreement with it, that you finished all those before you moved in yet.
okay.
They weren't.
And, yeah, and you asked if they were all done, and I sort of regard that as a trick question, because a house is never done. There's always
I
some...
don't regard it as a quick question. I regard it as they weren't done, I know. I go through your edition many times. I mean, I go out there and I don't know if you can talk to your people back there, they've probably seen my car go through there plenty of times.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Wait.
The other question I got, did you not also agree that these would be done by October 1st when we made that motion? When Mr. Doom made that motion, you had no objection to it.
I certainly did not have an objection to it.
But-
And your phrasing is, did I agree to that? I think if you go back and look at the tape of the meeting, the question was posed to me, do I project that I can have them done by October 1st? And I projected that I could. Okay? And I fully believed that I could. And so let me just show you one of the reasons why it probably didn't happen. No, and I think this is fair.
Go for it.
Okay. Relative to 606 Heritage Place. we were given, when we thought we were near completion, we called for an inspection. We were given a list of things yet to be done. Here's that list. Okay? There's several items at the top. There's a blank space. There's some items at the bottom. The items at the top were those items which we yet needed to complete to meet all of the items of health and safety. Okay? The items at the bottom were things that the city building officials suggested it would also be nice to have those done. I think for benefit of the public, I'll turn this toward the camera so they can see the list. They probably can't read it, but you can see how many items are on the list. Okay? So, we worked on those items. We did a couple off the bottom because we agreed they should probably be done. We did the items at the top of the page. We called for a re-inspection. And what happened out of the re-inspection was, we got this list back. Okay? Here's the list that we were told needed to be done. When it got done, we got this list, and I want to show that to the camera. I posed the question as to why did the list suddenly grow? Why do we have things that we have to do now that we weren't told ahead of time? The response came that it was a council decision. Now, I think you can check your minutes. I think you can check the film. I don't think that ever came up at a council meeting. I suspect that there was a council member who had his own agenda and who simply said, let's be more specific, let's be more detailed than we have to on this particular house. So we did this entire list, and we asked for an inspection. And we're told that, yes, looks like you got most everything covered. We'll see how the report comes out. It was over a month later after that we were finally told that the house passed. Now, I just asked, do any of the individual council members here know anything about that extra list?
I certainly don't.
Okay. And I know that none of you knows that it was at a meeting, because I'm sure it wasn't. So I don't know what kind of political pressure goes on behind the scenes, but that's also part of the reason that things took a little longer.
Well, here's the deal. Last time we had these houses before us, your people came, you couldn't be here because you were in the cities, and I understand that, you know, you can't be here every time, right? They were here and they said, we have this house that will be done in one day. We have this house that will be done in probably 2 days. We have this house that will be done by October 1st. I mean, I took those as promises that they were making to me that they were going to have those things accomplished. And I get a problem when I get guarantees or give promises, and then the next time I get call someone to accountability, then all of a sudden I get excuses. Okay, I have a problem with that. It bothers me when that kind of stuff happens, and I have a problem with the amount of integrity I'm willing to give the person when they make promises and excuses and promises and excuses. And that's why I feel this whole edition is gone.
Okay. I think you're confusing projections with promises.
I'm not confusing anything. I know what guidelines we set. We put a rule down that says none move in until they're all fixed. They weren't all fixed. We put a rule down that said we want them done by October 1st, and they weren't done by October 1st. And we haven't enforced it as a council. We said here as a council, we have never enforced those things in your addition. But yeah, we enforce other rules and regulations throughout this town, and maybe we should apologize to those people for enforcing them.
What have you not enforced on my addition?
Well, we let you continue to move houses in when you don't meet the agreements that we already have. Did anybody stop you from moving houses before July 1st when you said you'd have everything done before you moved them in? Nobody stopped you, went ahead and did it.
Okay. And again, the ambiguous term of everything done, we met everything on those houses that was required by the city code. There are some cosmetic things that weren't done. There are some cosmetic things on my own house that aren't done, perhaps on yours. Okay. Has everybody been able to tour the property recently? Charlie, I believe you probably have. You come out there frequently.
I've drove through your property, I do it 2 or 3 times a week, I drive through your property. I mean,
Okay. Mike, I know you were there. Larry, have you had a chance to get out? I knew you were out a
I've
little
been for a
while
couple
ago.
of weeks, no.
Okay.
I've been there, Ron. I've
I
walked.
know,
Yes.
yeah, I know.
I've talked to you
Yeah.
once for sure.
Oh, yes, definitely. Jenny? Okay, does
Really
anybody,
late at night.
you look there.
and I hope you stayed, under 40 miles an hour?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay. I know that if anybody who stops out when I'm there gets what I call the nickel tour, and I never collect the nickel for some reason, I don't know how that works. Okay.
You made me pay you in that.
I wouldn't worry about that, put it on his council expense.
I'm always happy to show anybody what stage of progress we're at any time and what's left, and which issues are yet to be resolved, and which we can ask any of our tenants. We get all of the necessities are done, and we use rainy day work, wintertime work, that sort of thing for miscellaneous cosmetic issues.
Ron, I want to interrupt you for a minute, Dale. The things that you are checking for are only those that are required for the certificate of occupancy, is that
That is
correct or
correct.
incorrect?
There was a time when there was a discussion whether or not what was completed. There was some terminology that the council had used that we did have a discussion on, whether or not that meant other items that were part of the code, city code, or whether it was the certificate of occupancy items. So there was that discussion. But I can assure you that there has been no input from any council member or my bosses regarding someone talking to me about different standards that are met. And that's a slanderous statement that I'm
Okay, Dale, but when you make up the list, you make it up based on the certificate of occupancy or the building code? Because there's obviously there must be some differences.
There is. Certificate of occupancy is issued when the life safety items are complete in accordance with the building code. There are items after certificate of occupancy sometimes where there are items that are not life safety or not life-threatening or incomplete at the time we look at it. We don't issue a certificate of occupancy without life safety issues being completed.
Okay. Any questions to come? Anyone else have any input into the public hearing? Kim?
Yeah, I'm kind of an innocent bystander here. But at the same time, deadlines are deadlines, and, I work under deadlines under every project I ever do. Sometimes we get them done ahead of schedule, and a few days here or there on the type of work he does, with the resources that he has, you gotta be somewhat flexible. And subcontractors this time of year, electricians, and, and I work with Meyer, and I'm not sure who he's working with. Sometimes he knows, well, I know this job can wait just a little while. So as far as on the deadlines, and it's difficult, I know, an occupancy permit, it's not complete till it's complete. A gas meter, that's kind of an independent contractor, and they'll come when they feel like it, and those kinds of things. I'm just using those as examples, but, to miss a deadline, and it does fill a need. In my case, I'm not, I'm selling this house because I want to get it moved out, so I can expand my building there and possibly take care of some safety concerns on the highways there too, so. But I really think, in all things considered, and I drive through there just like you guys do, because I got a selfish interest that I want to get it moved, and I know the roads just got completed, and some of those driveways and some of those issues that he's just getting done now are kind of hard to do until you have those things completed, but. So, I think a deadline, Charles.
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, because I think you're kind of addressing that all towards me right now anyhow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have the conversation. You're a contractor, are you not?
Yep.
Okay, and so when you sign on to do a job for the city of Marshall, and that job is not done on time, Is it the subcontractor's fault?
Um,
Who takes responsibility for it?
Well, we do.
That's all I have to say.
Right. But at the same
thing
time,
here.
I got a
I don't
bond
care
that
about all
says,
subcontractors. I mean,
Well,
the
yeah,
electric
but-
meter and the gas meter could have got done if the work would have been done 3 weeks ago.
yeah. It's,
Depends when the call comes, okay?
it's not
I
quite,
think-
it's not quite that easy, you know, I do millions of dollars worth of work a year, and it's not quite as easy as it might appear on the outside, and you gotta look at the resources Ron has. I mean, he doesn't have a staff of 7 in his office making those phone calls, checking on this stuff daily, and none of these house contractors can do that, and I just think that your expectations are, you know, and if you miss a deadline by a couple weeks, you
You
know,
answered my
it's...
question the first time when you said you're responsible because you're the contractor.
Right, but see, I have incentives to
Subcontractors
do
fault, you
that,
don't get there.
because I have a bond with the city of Marshall for $5 million to complete a project, or I have liquidated damages. And when you have liquidated damage, no, I don't want you remembering that statement here with Ron in the future. When you have liquidated damages, then there's a little bit more incentive for the subs, and those are written into their contracts. That's all I say. I mean, a deadline, and you know, you're within just a few hours on one of them, and probably done.
A few hours. 20 days is a few hours.
Well,
Excuse me, but
yeah,
it's more than a
okay,
few hours in my
okay.
opinion.
Well,
I don't know how you
anyway.
run your staff, but my staff's
Yeah.
different than that.
Okay, any other comments for the public hearing?
Yeah, I'd invite any council member to come over to my house and see what Ron has done in my home. I work until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so if you just want to buzz out or give me a call, or anybody can go through my house and see what he's done to my addition, my flooring, anything. And I know I have told a council member they could do that. Thank you.
Would just like to remind the council that our request is to get started on these, to have the basement contractor get started, and it will be 2 to 3 weeks before the house can possibly arrive. Cannot get here any sooner than that. And so I have no problem, I don't think any of the rest of my members of my association have any problem, if you would so choose to put a stipulation on to approve these first 2 houses for move this fall, with the stipulation that they do not physically arrive until 610 has its certificate of occupancy. I have no problem with that, because I know that that's going to happen anyway. But we do need to be able to get the building permit to start the basement, so that can be happening simultaneously. So that's my request. Thank you.
Anything else to come before the public hearing? If not, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, now we will do each individually. One motion for each of the properties. So, request to move the dwelling into 601 Heritage Place. Now, this is the one that will not, you can't get until at least April or August will not. I would move we table that one. There's no reason to give approval tonight for something that will not happen for at least 4 months, maybe 8 months. So second. Motion dies for lack of a second.
I would make the motion on 601 to deny that request until 610 has the occupational permit granted to it, and all the work is done on that. Once that is done, that Dale would go ahead and grant that permit for 601.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I just have a clarification of that motion. He's saying that we're going to deny the request to move it in there. But then we're saying that we're going to okay the request to move it in there. Dale's going to have the right to okay that request to move it in there whenever he feels like it.
No, once 610 is completed.
Once 610 is completed, then Dale can move it in there.
That's correct. That's my motion.
Do we have a second to that motion? Oh, we're batting 100%. Do we have another motion?
I make a motion that we deny that request
second that motion. Any discussion?
I think we can bring it back up next April and see where we're at. That's, I think we can do that. I don't want to leave it up to city staff to have to make that choice because it's supposed to be our decision. And I respect Dale's time and he doesn't need to have, that's not him, it's our responsibility.
Everyone in favor of denying the request to move the dwelling into 601 Heritage Place, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Jane, do you have the? Okay, moving on to 602. Ron, this is the one you want to move in, but you're not doing it this year? If I understood you correctly.
This is
602.
602 was not originally in our budget for this year, but we can accommodate the needs of Mr. Christensen if you would allow us to move it in and set it on a basement, but with the understanding that we will not even attempt to get it ready for occupancy until we have 612 ready for occupancy. Okay, so it would be, I'm telling you, the deadline is going to have to be out there. It's a winter project. Okay. In the alternative, it could be moved in and not set on a basement. If you want to guarantee that we don't mix and match, we could move it in and set it, 600 lot is level. We could move it in, set it there, crib it off so it can't be even entered, and then pick up the project next spring. If you would like to. If you want to give us the move permit without the building permit, that works.
Well, I was going to say, that's all the request is just a request to move the dwelling. And you can't get a building permit at this point anyway, so you just act on his request to move the building, period.
Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to grant the request to move the building or housing on the 602 Heritage Place, and I'm going to put that on a contingency, that would replace the one that's at 604. The problem with 604 being there's a gas meter missing as of early this morning. That gas meter has been installed today, so I'm going to say that that house has passed inspection. Therefore, I would make a motion to move a residential house on the 602 Heritage Place.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Motion dies for lack of a second. Do we have, excuse me.
I'd make a motion to deny that. If we moved it in there on the 20th, give you the go-ahead today in October 20th, that means by April 20th it'd have to be done according to our city code that Ron reminds us that we need to follow, and that's 180 days. So with that 180 days set aside, and we'd have to have it completed by the 20th of April, and it's not going to start until next spring. I'd have to have my Delsey get finished. So I make the motion to deny.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
For discussion purposes, Dennis, when does the 180 days start? If you
Yeah.
just move it in, that's when you apply for the building permit.
I need to know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't know either, whether it's the time you move it in or the time you apply for the building permit.
Well, it says here the skipping occupancy to be 100 days after the approval. So I would say that the approval must be from this approval right here. And if you take a look at the city code that we got written right before us.
What section is that?
Well, it's on our action deal that you had wrote it up. It says here, as October 6th City Council meeting had a hearing by October 20th, it says public hearing was requested. Following conditions were put on this and the action request, and the conditions was to complete all site construction and require all revisitation dwelling conformance with city code and obtain a certificate of occupancy 180 days after approval.
That was a recommendation, not a code.
Okay. Well, I'd say we're not going to make it.
we could change that recommendation, Charles.
I didn't change it in the motion, I called the motion.
Stand there.
The question has been called. The motion is to deny the request. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Aye.
same sign, aye. It's a tie vote, nothing
Does not
happens.
pass.
Motion doesn't pass for
Okay, 612 Heritage Place. It's the one from Redwood that he wants in now and to put in the basement and complete over the winter.
I make a motion that we approve that dwelling to be moved.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to approve moving a house onto 612 Heritage Place. Any questions?
Well, I guess I would speak against that motion when we had made the decision to have any more houses moved in. It was at the stipulation of the October 1st that there would be certificate of occupancies issued to all the existing buildings that were moved in. And those, as Dale pointed out, are based on life issues, not cosmetic. And since all of the buildings, existing buildings that are there on this property do not all have certificate of occupancies, I would vote against this motion.
Who made the motion?
I did.
How about amending that to say it can't be moved until the certificate of occupancy is received on 6/10?
I guess that goes back to
Would you be-
putting the responsibility on Dale again.
Well, the responsibility would be the decision that we make that says that building, that moving permit would not be in the engineering department. They're the ones that handle building permits, the engineering department did?
Yes.
Okay. The engineering department would not issue a moving permit until Dale has cleared that the certificate of occupancy has been approved.
Is that okay with the maker of the motion?
I would amend that to the motion. I wouldn't say he can't move it, because he's gonna move it halfway there, and he needs to do that, get it off where it's at, so I can, I just don't want it moved into that lot. He can start his basement, but he doesn't get the moving certificate until 610 has got an approval from, as of completion and from,
Is that okay with the second?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Felt sick there.
The motion is amended is to allow to move a dwelling, 612 Heritage Place, upon receipt, the completion of the certificate of occupancy.
But you're saying he can start the basement tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, that's not moving.
I'm not talking about the building permit, I'm talking about the moving permit. That's a separate permit, is that not correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that acceptable with you, Ron?
Certainly is, yes.
Okay, so we got a gentleman's agreement that's acceptable? Not a contract, but agreement?
Fair enough, yes.
Okay.
As long as the understanding is that I can call the basement contractor right away.
The only way I'm holding up is the moving permit.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that amendment, that friendly amendment is in all the certificates of occupancy for 606, 604, and 610.
Yes.
I mean, you got 604, you think, no, you got 606, you think 604 is coming tomorrow.
610.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman.
Number,
Can I just first of all say thank you? And secondly, a point of order, because I'm confused. On the second house, the motion was to deny, the motion was a tie, therefore it failed. Is that a double negative, and does that mean we got approval?
No.
it does not pass.
You do not have the permission to move.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay, public hearing number 5 is a hearing on an appeal of a tobacco license suspension. take
I
this?
got this.
Dennis has got
Yep.
this one, okay.
Just maybe we'd like the room clear a bit. On September 15th, this council passed a resolution indicating that the permission to sell tobacco products at the Ampride West Station will be suspended for a 30-day period of time from October 1 through October 30th. That's based upon violation of city tobacco ordinance sales 3 years in a row to underage individuals. That property, that business manager, however, has requested an administrative hearing pursuant to Marshall Code Section 2.2. They have a right to a hearing before this full council. Mr. Culligan, on behalf of Ampride West, has requested a hearing. He is here today. Within your packet, you should have a 3-page letter from Mr. Culligan setting forth his reasons for appeal. The way I read the appeal is he's requesting that you reconsider your 30-day suspension period of time. I don't think you're contesting whether or not they could suspend, but the time period of which is suspension. Minnesota law requires a minimum of 7 days. You chose to go longer than 7 days and suspend for 30 days. So I believe, Mr. Culligan, you have the right to proceed. Ask the council to consider as they may.
Hello. Okay, I manage the Ampride stores here for Prairie Pride Co-op. It is true that this is the third sting in a row that we have failed. If you read the letter that I gave to you, the first year was when I first got there. The young gentleman was a college gentleman that his comments were he didn't check, really didn't care, and he left my employment quite rapidly after he had gotten busted. The second year was a new kid, new young gentleman, 18 years old himself. He had worked 2 days. This was the third day he was working. He failed the sting. When I talked to him the next day that he was scheduled, it was our agreement that he would leave and go find some other employment. The third time, which is a few weeks ago, or a month ago I guess, Diane, as one of my long employees, why she didn't check the ID, I guess I don't know. I do know that she will check probably 110% of the people that come through, from this point on. We use the We Care system. If you're familiar with that, the tobacco companies push that quite hard. We have the calendars up. We have on our register, it checks, it gives the dates for the ID. We've also just recently installed a machine that you can swipe the driver's license and it will come right up and tell you the age of the person on there. There's no, it stops any of the guessing if there's someone close or not. I don't know how many of you, I guess I'm not sure of all of your backgrounds and stuff. I don't know how many have ever worked retail and had young people working, or had employees, period, and you can teach them, you can train them, you can show them, but when you're not there, some of them do whatever they want to do. It is going to be a hardship on the store. We do sell out of that location approximately $24,000 a month in cigarettes. That's just in cigarettes. That doesn't include the chew and the cigars and that type of thing. I don't condone my employees selling to underage people. I mean, and they know that. If Diane hadn't felt so bad about it, she would possibly be unemployed, from my station at the same time, but I really truly believe that she is not going to let this happen again. In everyone's files, they have the cigarette, and of course at West we have alcohol too. I mean, we sit down when I employ them and when I go through, they know the process, they know the policies. They get fined, I got fined. I guess to pull a license, I don't know that it's really going to solve any problems with underage people getting cigarettes. That's an age-old problem. I don't know how you'd ever stop it besides totally outlawing, tobacco. I guess, we put all the things in place, we train, we retrain, we find the store, we find the individual. In 2 of the 3 cases, I've let the people go because of, their, once I talk to them, their lack of, their attitude and what they think, and, that they really don't care, and I don't need an employee there for that reason. The same, if I catch them stealing, they're gone. They don't get chances. It's extremely tough nowadays out there. As in the letter, I think it's, if I remember some of my statistics right, it's 14 days to change a habit. We sell on average 170 packs per day of cigarettes. Now, along with those, the people they come in for breakfast, they come in for coffee, they come in for gas. Out of those 170 packs of cigarettes, if those people, the next 30 days in a row have to go to another convenience store to get that, we may get those people back. And I'm sure your intent is not to hurt, our business. The intent is to try to stop selling to underage individuals. And we agree with that 100%. I guess, I don't know what else I can say. Are there any questions on?
Just to answer one of your beginning questions. I've been a part owner of 15 restaurants for 30-some years. Believe me, I know the problems the place can have. But when I look at that the police have done a compliance check 3 times in approximately 1,100 days, and you get caught all 3 times, there's a problem. And it's as much sending a message to the rest of the tobacco license holders that we're going to enforce it. And 3 times, like I say, out of 1,100 days, the odds of that happening are not real great.
Do you have any idea how many people that we turn down on a daily basis because they don't have their license on them, or that we have checked their license and they aren't of age? I mean, there are a tremendous amount of people out there. Somehow, yet 3 of them slip through. And it's very unfortunate.
I could tell you for your information's sake that I do stop there quite frequently at Ampride.
Pardon me, I can't.
And quite frequently I've seen people buy cigarettes that I'd question if they were old enough. They were never carded. I've never yet had one person, while I've been waiting in line, that's bought cigarettes in front of me, ever be carded at your station. Not one person I can ever remember asked for an ID to prove that they were old enough, and there was a lot of people in there, because there's people that come over from the contact center from Schwann's that are college kids and high school kids, and they come over there, and not one of those kids that have been in front of me in line have ever been carded. Never.
Okay.
So maybe they changed the program now. I hope they have. But that's my experience with your station, just for your information.
And just as another example, I was in Las Vegas last week, and I was flattered to get carded to buy a pack of cigarettes. I'm sorry, anyone that would card me to buy cigarettes is blind.
You probably asked for your senior citizens discount.
But they carded everyone that walked in the door. That may be the only way to solve the problem, but it may be the only way to solve the problem in every establishment in town. If that's necessary, so be it.
Okay. Just a question, I'm not sure who knows the answer to this one, but how do they pick these young ladies that come in and to do the sting?
We have one of the sergeants from the police department just happens to be here, who might be able to answer that, I hope.
Brian, why don't you come forward here?
Sorry, Brian.
I wasn't here for this matter, but my recollection is that Sarah Van Louie is the one that organizes these compliance checks for tobacco. She's a school resource officer, and I'm sure she picks students from high school. But I'm not part of that, so I can't speak to how she picks individual people.
One of the things that Rob had shared with us when we looked at the liquor ordinance, and the the stings the last time in the city council meeting. We looked at the stings and how we set up the program to deal with it. He assured us that the people that were being picked didn't look like they were 27 years old, didn't look like they were of age. He picked people that weren't like, well, gee, he certainly looked like he's that old. So I'm wondering, is that the scenario that?
I've heard that discussion is that we want people to actually look their age, not older than their age, but I wasn't involved in this picking of these individuals, so I couldn't say for a fact.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, well, that's, and I guess there were 2 young ladies this year, is my understanding. Do you know if that's right? Okay, but I guess my point is there, a little bit. I know that, I mean, stings are a popular thing out there, and how else can you, catch people, doing things wrong? But at the same time, I know last year it was a young lady who had a toddler with her. I did find that on my cameras, I watched that. This year, when Sarah called me the next day, she said it was around 7:30, as I talked to Diane. Diane did not remember, who the people were. She got a phone call that night, several hours after she was off work, telling her that she'd been busted, for selling. I guess I question sometimes, how we do that type of thing. Diane doesn't remember who they are. Sarah never came back in right after she sold them and brought the girls back in and said, here, they bought these cigarettes from you right now. So, I mean, Diane has actually questioned, and she wondered why she didn't, she, quote unquote, taught to believe police officers, that type of thing. And I don't believe Sarah would not, wouldn't have done that, but I think, in all fairness, there should be something, next year, could we get pictures of these young ladies before they come in? Do they truly look like they're 17, and do we know how old they were? Were they 15? Were they 17 years, 11 months, and 22 days? I guess I don't know. Were they dressed up with makeup and the hair all done up? We see this on TV all the time, that they dress up these young gals to make them look a lot older than they are. And of course, they use young ladies because it's hard to make an underage young man look a lot older than what he is.
Once again, I'd say that we are assured by the chief of police that the people that were being picked looked at their age. They did not dress them up, did not make them up to look like they were old enough. They dressed them up, they left them just the way they were, and they looked their age when they were picked. That is the assurance that we received back from the chief of police. And I got to believe that he's respecting our wishes and holding up his end of the bargain. I haven't seen the pictures either, but as far as to say, can we bring people in and give you pictures ahead of time, that would kind of negate the possibility of doing a sting, because, when I used to work for a long time in a USDA building that was inspected by USDA, and they're going to have USDA inspections come in, they always give us a 3-week advance notice, and we always passed.
Well, I'm not asking that you show me these girls ahead of time so that we all know what they look like. It would be nice to know the day after to be able to, see, who they were. I mean, it's one thing, selling to a minor, and it's another thing, kind of being tricked into selling.
Well, I don't think there was any trickery involved. I still go back to 3 times out of almost 1,100 days. That's less than 0.3%. That's one hell of a coincidence. So I have to believe it's occurring at other times, other days, whatever. And I was the one that made the motion to suspend it for 30 days, and does anyone on the council wish to make a motion of some type?
Do you have a motion on the floor, Mike?
No, the motion was for 30 days, that's passed, that's all under the bridge.
First, you want to close this hearing, or?
Yes,
Take any
so
more?
do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do we want to consider changing the action we took a month ago? believe it was a month.
Well, I think that action was put out there in good faith, and I think everybody knows if you don't comply with it, what the consequences are going to be. I think to take and do anything different than that, we're saying it's kind of okay and the first time or whatever, this is where we do it. I think it's part of the law, and I think we need to honor that, so I'm going to make a motion to deny the request and uphold the 30-day suspension.
Second.
A motion,
Then, can you tell me when this is going to go into effect?
that's up to city attorney. I would-
Tomorrow. I mean, if you don't change anything, then it would be 30 days upon your affirming, so it'd be 30 days effective tomorrow.
Okay, so the motion is to, in essence, deny the request and uphold the 30-day suspension. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side.
You're on
Okay,
notice, starting tomorrow, there should be no tobacco sales at that Amp Pride West store for a 30-day period of time commencing tomorrow.
Right? That's, okay, if I know it's tomorrow morning, we can start that out.
Goes tomorrow, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
We open at 5, why don't we do it at 5?
Okay, 5 o'clock.
Whenever they
open, yeah.
Thank you.
The last public hearing is to consider changes in fees for alcohol-related licenses. So, Tom?
President Pro Tem, council members, we have tonight a scheduled public hearing to consider the change in license fee for various alcohol-related licenses as is required by state statute. Included in your packets in page 6-3 on the back side, we have gone through and tried to, with the assistance of the police department, to determine some of the costs that are associated with alcohol-related offenses within the city of Marshall. Included in this is the actual processing of the applications when they're submitted, which is done through the finance clerk's office. There is costs that are related to the city attorney's office as to their processing of the legal fees, expenses that are related to the Department of Public Safety have to do with DWI offenses, underage drinking and driving, minors, forfeitures. The police department has gone through and tried to identify the number of hours that they have with each one of these offenses, and from that we've established a dollar amount that is related to the enforcement of the licenses that are issued to the different establishments. Involved with this is also vehicles that end up being placed into storage for a period of time for the processing of probably a DWI offense or one of the other offenses. They have their record clerk time involved with it. For the vehicles, we've included some allocation of gasoline, compliance checks, the hiring of an individual to do the compliance checks. With that is food that they usually purchase at the different establishments. The detectives' time to do these compliance checks and the reports that follow up with that. Also, the officers are required to do safe and sober education, and then there's the PBT equipment that's placed in the vehicles for them to work with the alcohol-related incidences. In going through this scenario, we come up with the estimated cost associated with alcohol, which either could be considered as the cost associated for the issuing, inspecting, and other related cost of enforcement. The cost that we came up with going through this was approximately $122,000. Currently, the different licenses that are issued under the state statute that we have to have a public hearing for, the revenue that we currently generate on that is $61,210. The fees that we're proposing to adjust within this category will generate revenue of approximately $64,355 or $3,145. These various licenses have not been adjusted for 5 years. Basically, what we're looking at here is a 5% total increase in revenues generated from these different licenses. So I guess I'd open it up to any questions you may have at this time.
Just to clarify too, in the review of the calculation of cost, we're not required specifically to do any reporting on the service. I think what it was an attempt to do was to illustrate that this isn't a fee-for-service program. You can nitpick and maybe argue that something shouldn't be included. I think there are other things we potentially didn't include that could be calculated into the cost as well. I think what it is included for is to illustrate that that there is additional cost beyond what is incurred on that. There is no direct correlation percentage-wise to our determined cost, but that just wanted to illustrate that for your purposes. And I think with the fact that it hasn't been increased over that time period and the amount that's being proposed, staff believes it's a reasonable increase to propose for this year. And it would go into effect, if approved, go into effect the first of the year for the new renewals.
That's right.
Any comments from the council?
I just have, I guess, one question for you, Tom. According to this statute here, is we have to have a hearing, we have to notify the people that are being affected by mail, all the affected people with this license, to set the date of the hearing, and we've done that.
That is correct.
So we've met the stipulations in this statute.
Everyone that has a license that falls into this category was sent a notice of the potential increase in the fees.
So we're moving forward in the right legal direction. We've contacted everybody, so okay. That's the only question I got for you.
Thank you.
Any member of the audience that would like to speak to this during this public hearing, come forward.
Hi, I'm Chris Schober from Marshall Bowl. I just wanted to state that it does state in statute 348.408, which you had referred to already. Subsection 2, the last line, license fees indicated to cover the cost of issuing and inspecting and other directly related costs. On the spreadsheet, I don't believe that a lot of these costs are directly related due to the fact that underage drinking and driving and minor consumption, we are not legally allowed to serve them. So chances are with the licenses that are listed to offset that cost, that majority of that is not due to the liquor licenses, where I feel that would be, a lot of that would come from, would be off sale. So I don't see any cost of a license for an off sale license on part of that. I do agree the compliance checks, that needs to be done. And that's part of what is included. This statute is not meant to help with the general fund. This is help to, the cost of the license is to cover what it costs the city to do the licenses. So and storage of vehicles, I believe that, when your vehicle is impounded, that you pay a fee for that. So to have that on there as a cost, I don't feel that that's a cost of the license either. So, and I know that we do have a problem right now in Marshall and things need to be done. The Legislative and Ordinance Committee is going through and working on those things. Hopefully if some of that goes into effect, these costs will come down. So I just don't feel that this is a fair portrayal of what the cost. When I call the office and they tell me that, you know, that they were asked to do a 10% raise, but they chose just to do a 5% raise, I'm thinking that it was just arbitrarily decided at that point before any of the numbers were put to it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Last year is 4,200. Do you think that's fair?
No, due to the fact, and I'm going on my recollection here, due to the fact that previously, when it raised from 3,500 to 4,200, I don't ever recall getting a notice for that. So that, and I got the bill and I thought, whoa, where did this come from? So that's why I'm here tonight, because the last one, I'm not sure if everything was followed. So I'm here, like I said, I'm going off of my recollection. And so, you know, I think it's a very high fee. And as a business that we have, it's tough. I mean, the majority of our business, it does not come from liquor. I actually did call and ask if maybe we could get just a beer license instead of a full liquor license, and I didn't call back and follow through on that, but I don't know if that would be much of a cost difference as it is anyhow. But it's just, you know, lumping everybody together, in my opinion.
For your information, when I was on the council 120 years ago, the license fee was $10,000 a year, so.
Yes, I know, and I've researched, I found out that they brought it down and now it's creeping back up and stuff, and I was trying to figure out, you know, what the reasoning was for dropping it way back when, but I wasn't able to.
I'll give you my reasoning for it. You want to hear my reasoning?
Sure.
My reasoning is this. $4,200 5 years ago was a fair rate, and I didn't hear too many people who were screaming and hollering about the $4,200. Since then, we're asking for, over a 5-year period, we're asking for a 5% raise. If you did a normal cost of living raise, the raise would have been $668. We're asking for $210, less than 1/3 of what a cost of living raise would be. Now, I'm assured that if they're considering what it costs for the $4,200, somewhere in that whole process, that $4,200 had to raise by, you know, at least $668 cost to us. Now, I don't want to go through a spreadsheet and pick, oh, well, this might not be here, and this should be here, and maybe that should be on here, but it isn't on here. I mean, I just think it was fair before, and I don't think a 1% raise per year over a 5-year period is a tremendous raise. You know, everything else that we've got in our cost in the city is raised 3%, you know, more per year. So,
Which
I don't have a problem with thinking that's over exorbitant raise, because it isn't 5% for 1 year, it's 1% per year actually for 5 years.
Which, I agree, it's not very much. However, I just don't agree with the logic that is being brought to me for the reasoning why it is the way that it is. Because if you're using these numbers to say that that is the directly related cost for enforcement, I don't think that that is correct. And with the...
Well, let's take half of them out of there, and we still got more in enforcement costs than we get for licenses.
But I have to agree with you that a lot of those costs are, I'm a numbers person, is a fixed cost. It's going to be there whether we do it or not. The police are still going to get paid. At the end of the year, the same amount will be paid out in salaries, irregardless of the task. When I went through the numbers, I came up with about $45,000 cost for liquor costs, and we're collecting 60. So we're doing all right, and I'm against the increase.
And
Watch, he's going to beat up and you go,
No, National Varsity Club. What other businesses are paying for their part of crime? They're added to the budget. Mike, when that license was $10,000, there was 5 bars. Now you've added licenses, and now we have, I think, 14. Population hasn't gone up hardly at all in that time. So it's relative, well, from 12, I moved here in 1990, it was 12,000, now it's 13.
no, the 10,000 was way back when
Sure, but you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have many more licenses now. Has anybody done their due diligence to find out what other communities are paying per license, per population?
The last time I recall we did it, Tom, was the last time we raised it. And the numbers were all over the map. I think.
It seems to me that
They're
this,
taking an internal look. We did not do a survey as part of our presentation.
But we did the last time. It was all over the map, and I suspect it's still all over the map.
but you know, it's as easy to have a $1,500 license as it is a $4,500 license. And that's good for the businesses. The idea shouldn't be that let's get this thing as high as we can. It should be let's get this thing as low as we can. What part of these costs does the city own municipal, or what are they responsible for? You know, by volume, they sell as much as we do all combined, all 14 of us combined. They sell as many containers as we do.
And they give the city 5 times as much as you guys do
In jobs,
in income. So if you want to compare income to income.
how many people do they employ?
I don't go out there on a regular basis, I couldn't tell you.
So the jobs that we're giving to these people are unimportant.
No, I'm not saying the jobs are important at all. I'm just saying, if you want to compare income, you're saying $65,000.
I absolutely would love to compare what we
$300,000
provide to
is
the
5%.
community compared to
No.
what they provide to the community,
I'm
absolutely.
talking about income. You're talking about the income here. We're talking about how much per license fee.
I think it's high. I think 42 was high. I think an additional cost is high. That's my opinion.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Personally, I'm not in favor of lowering it, but I'm not in favor of raising it. Any other one else speaking to the public hearing? We have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And now, what do we want to do about the resolution? Now, do we need to take action on it? There's no resolution included in here.
No, there's no.
The intent is that these fees would, if you decide to approve them, would be done by a motion at this time so that we can move forward knowing what to include in the applications being sent out for next year. There will be an official resolution coming through at a later date with all fees and for the city.
Okay. Do we have a motion to come forward?
I would move to approve the increase in the liquor license.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to increase the license fee as recommended by the finance office. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, aye. Agenda item number 7, approval of the consent agenda. Review the proposed 2009 Marshall Municipal Utility Partnership Agreement and the update on the capital improvement plans, which we did talk about at our previous meeting. The bills and project payments, and for informational purposes, a list of the building permits. Anything any member wants removed for discussion? If not, a motion would be in order.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed.